the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at the spectacularly bizarre Halloween 3: Season of the Witch, released in 1982. Let's get one thing straight right off the bat. Yes, this is the Halloween movie that has nothing to do with Michael Myers. Instead, it's a completely unrelated tale about an evil Irish toy maker and his diabolical plan to kill kids all over the country using booby-trapped masks and a disturbingly catchy jingle. Allow me to explain how this shapeless Halloween sequel came to be. John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, the producers of the first film, originally wanted to make the Halloween series an anthology in the same vein as The Twilight Zone, with each movie telling an all-new spooktacular tale set around the holiday. Then, any movie that did well could get a spin-off series. It sounds kinda Conjuring-esque in retrospect, but there was a bit of a problem. Michael Myers had made such an impact in the original film that the other producers wanted him back, so Carpenter and Hill agreed to make one more movie about him before proceeding with their sort of jukebox of horror plan. And that's why Michael originally died at the end of Halloween 2. That was supposed to be it for him, and then on to something else. But people loved Michael Myers just too much, and you can't really blame them. Maybe if they had started this anthological approach with the first sequel, the audience would have been more understanding. But after 2 Halloweens starring a stalkery shape, it's not surprising that audiences expected him back for the third. And thus Season of the Witch was a pretty big bomb that ended any plans to make a Twilight Zone of cinematic terrors. As for the movie itself, it's completely ridiculous, even if it was entirely separate from the Halloween series. I actually love it because of how crazy it is. In fact, the only thing I don't care for is the May-December of the following year romance going on in it. Other than that, I love it. The witchcraft, the sci-fi, all the brutal kills. Let's see how many I'm talking about and count them up. The movie begins in Northern California in October, but not like on Halloween. No, this movie's giving us 8 days of runway till we get to the namesake holiday. A dude named Harry Grimbridge is on the run from a car coming after him, and while he's hiding out from it in a parking lot, he runs straight into a well-dressed thug who starts strangling him against the ground. In an act of desperation, Harry pulls the block out from a parked car's tire, and the vehicle rolls forward at a non-lethal looking speed, but still manages to crush and kill this thug for our first death of the movie. No blood or anything, but it does have a nice nasty crunch to it. Don't worry, we'll get there. Harry takes off through the junkyard, and another car needlessly tells us it's 1 hour later, when a gas station attendant is watching a news report about a piece of frickin' Stonehenge that got stolen. Talk about the heist of the millennia. The commercial break includes our first instance of this insanely obnoxious Silver Shamrock jingle.
8 more days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 8 more days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
It's advertising 3 crappy masks that are apparently all the rage, even though they look like Happy Meal toys. Also, they're called the Halloween 3. Nice tongue-in-cheek name there. The attendant gets accosted by Harry, who passes out clutching a pumpkin mask and whispering, "They're coming." Time to meet our hero of the story, alcoholic Dr. Dan Chalice, played by Tom Atkins. His ex-wife Linda is played by Nancy Kyes, who was Annie in the original, and who's already bought their shitty kids those shitty Halloween masks.
8 more days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween.
And in case you're not a fan of that Kidz Bop cover, don't worry. You can hear the original any goddamn time you turn on a TV in this movie.
8 more days to Halloween.
Turn that down.
Halloween.
Although he's drunk as a skunk, Dan is called in to take care of Harry, who was brought into the hospital by that friendly gas station attendant who's just like, he's really gotta get out of there right now. I don't know why. Harry wakes up at the sound of the ubiquitous Silver Shamrock commercial, and he once again delivers creepy prophetic warnings.
They're going to kill us, all of us.
That night, after drunk horny Dan gropes one of his nurses and passes out in a stupor on a hospital couch, another well-dressed thug sneaks his way into Harry's hospital room and kills the old rambling man in a seriously gnarly way, sticking his fingers right into Harry's eyes and just breaking his skull with a single hand. It's a simple kill for sure, but the way it's done is absolutely brutal, as are a lot of the kills to come. It's good stuff. Dan awakens to a nurse's screams and stumbles his way down the hallway out to the parking lot. There he watches as the assassin sits calmly in his car, douses himself with gasoline, and lights himself on fire, giving us another explosive kill and driving home that this movie is not really a slasher. It's more of a what the fuck mystery that'll have to be figured out by the drunkest doctor in the Golden State. A title card tells us it's the next day when Harry's St. Vincent-looking daughter Ellie arrives at the hospital to identify his body. And then, another title card tells us it's the next day. What the fuck? And we find drunky Dan flirting with assistant coroner Teddy, trying to get some info about the self-imploding assassin. assistant. Wow, this hospital has one horny fucking staff. And wait, what the fuck? Now it's Friday? Why not just set your movie closer to Halloween and skip all these title cards? Speaking of Halloween, at Dan's regular watering hole, Muldoon's, we get confirmation that this movie takes place in a new continuity when the TV airs a commercial advertising the immortal classic Halloween. Followed by this, of course.
2 more days to
Come on.
Yeah, come on! Ellie walks into this deserted bar and tells Dan that his entire staff knows he's a problematic day drinker.
One of the nurses told me I could find you here.
She enlists Dan to help her find out more about her father's death instead of going to like a sober police officer. So she takes him to her dad's toy shop where his records show that the last thing he did before getting that septum surgery was pick up a supply of silver shamrock masks from the factory in Santa Mira. Dan calls up his ex-wife and cancels plans with his kids so he can take a 6-pack of roadies and head up the coast with Ellie. Real dad of the year material. Oh, and in case you were wondering what day it was,
2 more days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween.
could we get the FCC in here to fine Silver Shamrock for violating the 8th Amendment? They drive to Santa Mira, a sleepy Irish enclave of California, played by the town of Lolita, California, population 800. It's home to the Silver Shamrock Company and a whole bunch of very nosy locals, as well as some state-of-the-art CCTV cameras. Dan and Ellie pose as a married couple as they rent a motel room, even though it'd make more sense for them to be father and daughter, given the 24-year age gap between the two actors. Tom Atkins was 47 here, and Stacey Nelkin was 23. He's literally more than twice her age. Kinda weird. Also staying at this motel is boisterous Silver Shamrock salesperson Buddy Kupfer, his wife Betty Kupfer, and their shitheel son Buddy Jr., as well as another Silver Shamrock salesperson, Marge Gutman. Is Silver Shamrock run like fucking Cutco knives or something? Ellie wants to head to the factory right away, but Dan is more interested in drinking and stalling.
It's getting late. I could use a drink. Let's take our time.
Then the romance kicks off, and since her dad's death has probably left her with some father issues, Ellie's totally down for some mature mustache rides. An uncredited Jamie Lee Curtis voice comes over a loudspeaker to announce Santa Mira's curfew is now in effect. But fuck if that's gonna stop Dan from getting his booze. He's got those DTs to ward off, you know? On his way back, he runs into a homeless guy named Starker who puts forth a great argument for getting himself a swig.
I ain't got no diseases. You mind if I have a drink?
The vagrant tells Dan about the head of Silver Shamrock, Conal Cochran, who built this town up from the ground but without using any local labor. Maybe this place needs E-Verify. Starker cusses out Cochran to the night and those CCTV cameras everywhere, so after he leaves Dan, he gets attacked by 2 more well-dressed thugs who by now we figured out work for Mr. Cochran and Silver Shamrock. They get him to his knees, kind of suggestively, before the one played by Dick Warlock, who was part 2's Michael Myers, frickin' rips off Starker's head. Holy shit, yes! That's what I'm talking about, Halloween 3. Keep giving me shit like this and I will love you forever. Oh no, you're gonna give me more of this nasty romance? Ugh, okay, if you wanna be like that. The daddy-daughter couple gets to lovemaking on the nasty motel bed, where there's a way too long shot of Tom Atkins going in for some breast milk. Damn, there be daddy and mommy issues all up in this bitch. Their post-coital cuddle isn't much better to watch thanks to the smash hit they got playing on the radio.
2 more days to Halloween,
Leave this commercial.
2 more days
Never
to Halloween.
stops.
I know, dude, I know. I guess it puts Ellie in the mood, though, because she's coming back for seconds.
Aren't you just the least bit tired?
Nah, dude, because she's not pushing 50 like you are. Go tend to your stock portfolio or some shit. Meanwhile, in the next room over, Marge Gutman finds a loose Silver Shamrock tag that fell off her kid's Halloween mask. Oh man, if those are anything like the tie tags on Beanie Babies, that mask ain't worth shit anymore. Her amateur tinkering leads to a freaking blue beam blast that hits her in the face and gives us another great kill, because that's what this movie does. Look at her messed up mouth, man. She looks like the Chatterer Cenobite. Hell yes, dude. And wait, what the fuck? What the fuck is that bug doing crawling out of her mouth like that? Sick, man. That's almost as gross as the sex scene this kill is intercut with. Another title card informs us that it's finally Halloween Eve, and Dan calls up Teddy, who's working on the weekend because she can't seem to find any human parts in her autopsy sample of the hospital assassin, just plastic and metal. Dan and Ellie head to the Silver Shamrock factory to find more clues about her father's death, and while they're there, they run into Buddy Kupfer and his clan, who are there for a special tour of the factory, since he's the best-selling Silver Shamrock salesperson in the country. The tour will be led by Conal Cochran himself, the movie's big bad, played by a friggin' Oscar-nominated actor, Dan O'Herlihy.
Is he incredible or what?
Yeah, he really is. He's one of the best parts of this movie, honestly. Cochran allows Dan and Ellie to join the tour for plot purposes, so everyone gets to peek behind the curtain of a company that somehow turns a profit with only 3 fucking masks in their stock. Shit, we had more pin variants than that when we launched our merchandise at deadmeatstore.com. And no, I will not apologize for that shameless plug because this is America. Buddy Jr. even gets a shitty little pumpkin wrapped around his head from Cochran himself. Teehee, what fun! Cochran gets real cagey though when he talks about the quote-unquote final processing of the masks, which is apparently all done behind this very discreet door in the factory. The best thing about this little mystery is this hilarious line delivery